Hey guys, so this is the next video of the continuation of the Linux bash scripting. So in this video I will discuss about the bash loop and the rsync coding, synchronization coding basically, and the debug option. So let's start with the loop. So there are basically four types of loops that is being used in the bash coding. These are for loop, while loop, case, and select. So let's start with the for loop. So for the example of the for loop, let's start with a small bash coding. So let's create the code. For example .sh. So the first shebang line. So let's so the for loop can be basically implemented by three ways. So let's start with the first way. So in this way what I will do, we will define that in which value that I can take. So let's give the value of 1 to 5 for the variable I. So in this part I will write the body of the for loop. So here the I will take the value first value it will take is 1, second it is 2, 3, 4, this way. So let's start some iteration of the value of I. This is ith iteration, and let's use some kind of tone system so that in each iteration we will get a tone. So the -a basically for the escape character, and that /a is for generating the tone. Let's sleep for maybe 0.5 second. So that's it. So now I will run this code. So here we go. Let's first make it executable. chmod +x, so it becomes executable. Let's run this code. So as you can see that the for loop is working as it is intended to. It's taking 0.5 second sleep after each iteration, and it prints the value of I, which is 1 to 5. And there is a second method by which I can implement the for loop. So let's go for that. So here for I in, so in this case I will define the range of this variable I within the second bracket like this. So I will basically run from the value 1 up to the value 10. So let's do the basic. So we just copying the same thing, because here we want to implement the same thing. So let's run the method 2 only and skip the method 1. So I just commenting out the first method. So let's run this code. So this is basically the way it is being being scripted. Like the I is running from 1 to 10, and each iteration is just taking 0.5 second sleep. So the for loop also can be implemented in a third way. Let's say we want to use some kind of customized increment value. So in this first two method, the I value is incremented by just 1, but let's say we want to increment the value of I with any other number, any other customized number. So that can be implemented by using method 3. So here we go. So let's select a variable by which we will increment the value of I. Let for I in. So let's run this I from 1 to 10, and each increment will be 2. Okay, so here we go. So I just want to run the method 3 option, so I just commenting out the rest of the code. So or else I can comment out the first 2 method and running on the third method. So let's run this code. So as you can see, the I first it taking the value of 1, there is increments with the value of 2, so it becomes 3, then it becomes 5, then it becomes 7, then it becomes 9, and the maximum value is 10. The value of I cannot be more than 10, that's why it has to stop in the value 9. Okay, so after understanding the functionality of the for loop, let's go through an example of the for loop, a real life example. So the example that I gonna explain is so this script will basically detect the empty files within the present directory and will delete that empty file. So so basic operation would be, it will first detect the file is exist within this directory or not. If the file is exist, then it will check whether file there is something written within this file or not. So if nothing is written, then it will just remove that file. Okay, so let's make the function first. So delete empty file. So I'll write the body of the code, body of the function over here. So let's write what the function this script will basically doing. This script will delete empty files. Okay, so I will pass just one argument at a time to this function, and it will check this function, check the whether the file is exist or not, and then if the file is exist and there is no content within that file, then it will delete that file. So I will call this file each time within a for loop. So let's write the whole overall structure for I in star. So at each iteration it will just call this file, call this function. So del empty file, and then it will pass the argument, which is nothing but the value of the I. So let's write the body of the function. So first it will check whether the file is exist or not. So it will be written in this manner. So I will basically passing one argument at a time, and which is the first argument. So that's why I am taking the first value over here. Now, so if the file is exist, then it will do some operation to detect whether the file is empty or not, and if the file is not exist, then what it will do, it will just print out that this file is not exist, and that's it. That will be the end of this for loop. Now if the file is exist, then what it will do, it will check whether the file is empty or not. Okay, so I am using the -s option. So -s $1, so that is basically the value of the file So the -s option basically check whether the file has anything written within the body of the file or not. So I just reverse the operation. So the whole condition within this for loop basically check whether the file is empty or not. Okay, so -s option will check whether the file is non-zero and then reverse the condition. So if the file is empty, then I will perform the remove operation. So for that, rm minus fv, f for forceful remove, v for verbose. So what I will basically remove, I will remove the file. Okay, now let's print a message that this file removed successfully. Okay, just taking a new line with the escape character. Okay, and if the file is not empty, means if there is something written within this file, then this condition is basically wrong. So then what it will do, it will write some line that this file is not empty. Then it will just end the for loop. Okay, so that's it, that's the whole script is. So first I will run this code for an okay, so let's try out that whether there is any bug within the code or not. So that's why I will use this option. I will use this option set -x, so that debug will be starting from this line, from the very first line, debug set +x. Okay, save the code, let's run it. So they are saying that in the line 37 some unexpected else is given. So let's go to a line number 37. Okay, so the then option is not given. Okay, let's check again. So it's basically saying that each of this line is performing properly, working properly. So let's create some dummy file, and then I will use this script within the whole directory. So whatever dummy file I will create, the script will apply it on those dummy files. Okay, let's create some dummy file. Touch file, let's create 5 dummy file from 01 to 05. Okay, so there is 5 dummy file is being created. So I will check one at a time, one condition at a time. Okay, so let's check for the first condition, that whether the file is exist or not. So okay, so what we can do, we just write something within the file 01 and then running the whole code. So while what the script will do, that this script will check each of this file and only delete the empty file. So if something is written within this file 01, then the file 01 will not be deleted. So let's write something within the file 01. This is a test code. Let's write it in the file 01. Check whether it is written or not. So you can see that something is written within this file 01. Let's run this code and see what happens. So what the expected behavior should be, the file 01 will not be deleted and rest of the file will be deleted. So let's run this code. Okay, so we basically running the code with the debug option on. That's why just printing each of this line. So let's delete it and now create all the files again. So there is all the files. Let's check for the file 01. So something is written within this file 01. Let's run this code again. So you can see that file 01 is not empty. So it is evident, right? So something is written within this file 01. That's why it is not deleted. And then file 2 is removed, and file 3 is removed, file 4 is removed, file 5 is removed, and this file, this script itself is not empty because we are basically writing within this script, right? So that's it. Okay, let's make an example with the case statement. So let's write a small script with the case statement with the example. So Shivan line. So in this example I will show you the functionality of case. So that basically asks one user input, that may be alphanumerical. Okay, so if the user gives an numeric input between 0 to 9, so the case statement basically show that the value is within the 0 to 9. Okay, and if it is within the lower case of a to z, then the case output would be it is between a to z or the lower case. Okay, so let's make it. So we have to take the value from the user. Enter a alphanumeric character. Okay, now read the input. Okay, so if that is between 0 to 9, we will perform some operation. If that is between a to z, we will perform another set of operation. And if that is between a to z in capital, we will perform some other operation. And if it is not within these three checks, then that should be a default value. Then we will just print an usage line. So if it is between 0 to 9, we will just print echo the value is in 0 to 9. So for this case we will do echo the value is in a to z Here we will do the value is in A to Z. Here hotel print invalid input, and then let's okay, invalid input, and then exit with a status 1, non-zero exit. Okay, so that's basically the code. Now we're gonna trace this code. Okay, so first run this code with a debugger, set -x, then set +x. So I am using this debugger function, debugger option, because that will give you an opportunity to test whether every syntax that has been using within this script is right or not. So if there is any mismatch within this script is there, then the debugger mode will actually show you, pointed out the whether there is any mistake or not. Okay, so let's run this code. So there are basically no problem up to this line. Is reading value. Let's give you a value. So it's showing that 2 is within 0 to 9. So basically the code is working fine. So let's use some alphabetical value S. So that is between A to Z. So it's working fine. Now you are pretty sure that there is no any syntax mistake within this code. So now you can just remove this debugger line and run this code as it is. Then now let's run this code as it is without a debugger. Give any value. So it is within 8 to 9, 0 to 9. Give any value. It is A to Z. Okay, it's working good. Now give some irrational value. So it's invalid input because whatever you are giving, it is not one character. That's why it is within this default value, and within this default value the status is 1, exit status is 1 with the. So let's understand the functionality of the rsync comment. So the rsync comment is basically used for the synchronization purpose. Let's say you have two directories, source and destination, and you have some changes, you have made some changes within the source directory. So you want to make sure that the same changes will be made on the destination directory as well. So basically you want to synchronize the source directory with the destination directory, right? Now by using the normal cp command, you can ordinarily copy the content within the source directory and paste it into the destination directory. But if the file size is very huge in the source directory and there is a tremendously huge number of files, maybe 1000 or 2000, okay, then to copy that many file of that many size to the destination folder is just not a very tricky process, because that will cost you a huge resource usage, and also it is not very bandwidth friendly. Okay, so it will basically take you a long time to copy all the files from the source to the destination, and in the meantime all the other processes within that system will be just hanged, because that copying process itself will take so much like resource sharing of the system, so that the other process cannot have the proper resource to be executed. Okay, so the better usage of doing the same thing is by the rsync command. So the rsync command basically find that which files are only being changed. Okay, so let's say there is 1000 file, only 2 of these 1000 files are being changed. Okay, so the rsync file will copy only the content of this 2 file, not the rest 998 files. Okay, so there is a very big advantage of the rsync command over the cp command. And the rsync command basically use the delta transfer algorithm, means it will only sync or copy the changes to the destination rather than copying the whole file. Okay, so it also doesn't require the pseudo privileges, so that is a big advantage, because there's only make copy of the changed file, not all the file. So let's go to the man page of rsync. So that is for the versatile remote file copying tool. So there should be some options as well. So -v for verbose, q for quiet. So if you don't want any other messages, then you can use the quiet option. So -r is for recursive. So if you want 3 folder to be synchronized with 1 folder only, then you can use that -r option. And -d for the directories, and there should be some a option as well. Yeah, that is there. So that is for the archive purpose, so that will make the archive mode on. So let's make two directories, source and destination, and make some files within that source directory. And by using that rsync command, let's see how it copying the content within that source directory to the destination directory. So let's first make the directories first. So mkdir source and destination. So these have been created. Let's go to the source directory and make some files. So these files have been created within that source directory, and let's check whether there is anything within the destination directory or not. So there is nothing within the destination directory. So now let's use the rsync command to copy the files from the source directory and synchronize it with the destination directory. So rsync minus, let's use the archive mode on first and the verbose mode on. So by using that verbose mode on, it basically shows like which files are being synchronized. Okay, so you have to give that forward slash after each directory name, because that basically copies the content of source to the content of destination. Okay, so here it's showing that these many files are being synchronized to the destination. Let's check the content on the destination folder. So it is clearly written that these files are there. So that was not previously within the destination, it was within that source directory. So by using that rsync command, we have successfully synchronized the destination directory with the source directory. Okay, now let's add one more file to the source and then use the rsync command. Okay, so there is only file 01 to 10, only 10 files are there. Let's create another file 11. Okay, so file 11 is created over here within that source. So by right now there is in the destination file there is only 10 files are there. So by using that rsync command, only one file should be copied, which is the file 11, to the destination folder, because no other changes are being made in any of these 10 files. Only the one file is being added. So let's use the rsync command, archive verbose source destination. So it is clearly showing that only the file 11 is being copied, not any of these files. So that is the biggest advantage of this rsync command. It's not copying any other different files which are not being changed, which are already being synchronized with the destination to source. Only it copies the file that is being changed within that source. So that is only done for the file 11. Okay, so with options like, now let's make another changes within that source directory. So before that, I want to introduce another option, which is the dry run. Okay, so by using the dry run, we basically run the command but not making any changes to the destination. So the dry run command is basically helps us to see that after running this command without dry run, what files will be changed within the destination. So that will be basically give us an aspect of the future changes that can be made by using that command directly. So I suggest using of the dry run command before using the actual command, because then you can actually come up with the actual picture that which files are being going to be changed within the destination, and whether any of these undesired changes are being made on the destination directory or not. So you can make sure of these things by using the dry run command. So let's use the dry run command first. So let's go to the source, make another new directory. So let's make some changes in some one file. So let's change only file 1 and file 2. File 1, make some similar changes to the file 2 as well. Okay, so file 1 it is file 01, and for file 02 it is minus file 02. So let's use the verbose mode on. Okay, there is no such changes. Okay, so we only made change on the file 01 and the file 02. So by using that rsync command, only these two files will be changed in that within the destination folder. Okay, so now we will use the dry run command with the rsync command, minus ab minus dry run source. Okay, now we are within that source. So rsync. So as I already said that, like, by using that dry run command, there will be no changes would be made, but that will give you an future aspect of the changes that would be there after running that command without dry run. Okay, so you can see it showing that this file will be changed only because we have made changes only within these two files, but that changes is not being made in the destination right now. So we can also check the content of these two files in the destination. So nothing is being written, so we are pretty sure that nothing has changed because we have ran it with the rsync command dry run options. So now we will just remove that dry run. So now the changes should be made within the destination folder as well. Whatever changes we have made in the source directory. Okay, so that's there. So in the destination folder also, that changes is there within that file 01 and the file 02. Okay, so now let's remove some of the files from the destination and resync again. So rm minus fv, forceful remove. So I want to delete from 01 to 02, 05. So these files are being removed from the destination. Now we'll run that rsync command from the source to destination with the dirun. So see, there is only these files will be synchronized because these files are present only within the source directory, but these are not present within the destination directory. So if we run this command without the dirun, that changes will be made. So if we just go to the destination, so this files is there. You can also check the content of the file 01, which should be there because we have made the changes within that source directory. Okay, now let's make changes in the source directory. So let's delete some of the file. So if we remove some of the file from the source, that should be synchronized with the destination folder as well. So what I mean to say, if I remove 5 files from there, so the 5 files also should be removed from the destination. So for this thing we have to use minus delete option. So let's remove those 5 files from the source first. So 5 files are removed. Yeah, so we have removed 5 files from the source. So now let's use the rsync command -av. So we first running with the dirun because that would just give us the knowledge like which files will be changed within the destination and not make any changes right now. And delete. So we are in the present directory, so dot, you have to backward you have to go backward one directory, then go to the destination. Okay, so there should be minus delete. So see, there is 5 files that should be changed within that destination because we have removed these files from the source. That should be removed from the destination, but that has not been already been deleted from there. That should be there. So these files are there, it is not being removed. So now we will use that command without dirun. Now we will check the content of the destination. So these files are being removed, file 01 to 05. These files are not there within the destination folder. Okay, so in this way it can help us to synchronize two different directories without using a lot of bandwidth and resources, because as I already have said, like it is using the delta transfer algorithm basically. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. If you think this this lecture is helpful, then please like, share and comment, and subscribe the channel to have more advanced bash scripting videos. Okay, thank you guys, thanks for listening. And all the codes are being added in the description, so if you want, you can download those files from the description and run into a new system. Thank you.